Her triumphs.
I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them.
Her trials.
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story.
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here is your host, Lauren McLean.
I'm here with national champion in the javelin, Ashton Riner-Lunt. Ashton, you're already one of my favorite people from following you, your career, watching you in interviews, and I'm so excited for you to come on with me, so thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So national champion in javelin, have you gotten used to being called a national champion yet?
In a way, yes. My boss, I work here, and he's always like, hey, national champion, or I'll walk into the weight room and everybody's like, hello, champ. That's what I'm called now. I was like, oh, no.
But have you accepted it? Have you embraced it? Where you're like, sure, call me that?
Yes. The first couple months, I did not. I was like, no, do not call me that. Do not call me that. And now I'm like, oh, whatever. I don't care anymore.
Oh, I love it so much. You just got to embrace it. You got to wear it. It's who you are,
Yes.
and it's such an incredible thing. Before you threw at the NCAA track and field championships, were you thinking like, okay, I got this. This is mine?
Yes. You kind of have to. When you get to that level, I'm taking a class from Dr. Manning, and I'm a pretty humble person, but when it came time to that, he pretty much says you have to believe in yourself almost to be kind of cocky, you know? So I had to tell everyone, no, I'm going to win this. People are like, oh, are you overconfident? No, I just need to be confident because I need to believe it for myself, and then I know it's going to happen.
And Dr. Manning is the sports psychologist for BYU Athletics, right?
Yes.
Such an incredible guy. So you also competed at the U.S. Track and Field Championship, but we'll get to that a little bit later. You grew up in Connell, Washington.
Yes.
What was your life like growing up in a rural eastern Washington town?
Yeah, super small town. I loved it personally. Sometimes people are like, oh, you lived in a bubble, and I am so grateful for that bubble. Let me tell you, everyone knows everyone. I love that. All my nieces and nephews right now are growing up in that area, and which is awesome because summertime, they're all together. You learn how to swim in a pond. I like kneeboarded and tubed in a ditch. Like, it's so fun. And then also in a small town, you learn how to work hard. Like, there's just like this work ethic that's like no other in a small town. Everyone works in the summer. Usually I come here and they're like, oh yeah, I just did sports all summer. I was like, I did not get that opportunity. Wow, I wish. I just worked on a farm. You work really crazy hours sometimes, but it's super fun. And I learned this crazy work ethic that I did not know everyone had. I know it wasn't normal, but like everywhere where I'm from, like my little brothers know, my best friends know, you just work. And you work your butt off and you just don't complain. I mean, sometimes you complain, which is normal.
Totally.
But like you just work your butt off and it's not out of the ordinary from where I'm from.
Oh my gosh. So you mentioned that your nieces and nephews are there in the summers. Did your family, you come from a huge family.
Yes.
8 kids, right?
Yes.
Where do you fall?
I'm the
way?
5th.
You're the 5th of
Yes.
8. Oh my gosh. Okay, so do your older siblings and their kids come back in summer, or do they live around there right now?
They live there. I am so jealous. I have a sister that lives about 2 hours away, and then I have another brother that lives about an hour and a half away, but they come home every weekend. And so all the cousins are together. So, like this weekend, my sister just had a baby shower, and I wanted to be there so bad. It's hard, but my nieces and nephews have the best life out there on the farm. Like, it's so fun.
Did your parents grow up there as well?
My mom did, but my dad is from Georgia.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
So you're married. Does your husband know about your strong desire to live back there one day?
This is a fight we have, like, sometimes, because I'm like, we're going to live there. And he goes, no, we're not. Like, what do you mean? And yeah, so it's a fight sometimes.
You're like, you don't know how stubborn I am. We're going to live there.
Yes.
Okay, so you raised pigs growing up. How does one raise pigs? What goes into that?
Okay, so we actually raise 4-H pigs and FFA pigs. So everyone back home saw my Sports Nation interview.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, pig farmer. And I'm like, that's not what I meant. So we raised pigs. We had about 3 sows, mama pigs, and we breed them on our own. And then they would have babies, obviously.
Yeah.
And my mom, once my oldest brother got old enough, she'd just be like, okay, it's your guys' turn. And just have like from 5-year-olds to my brother, I think was 16. She'd just send us out there and we would have to help the mom give birth. And then,
Oh my gosh.
like, yeah, so we would raise pigs and then we'd grow them up and sell them. And then that would help us make money for college. Yeah.
Gosh, that's the greatest thing
Yes.
I have ever heard. I love that so much. I love your parents. I don't know them and I love them. All right, so I know your dad is a coach. So he obviously had to have some part in you getting involved in track. What was that process like? When did you start and how'd you get into javelin specifically?
Yeah, so my dad actually retired from coaching. He's coached for 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
What's your dad's name?
Wayne.
Congrats, Wayne. Have a great retirement.
Yes. So my dad actually he told me when I was 8 years old that I was going to be a javelin thrower at BYU. I was thinking BYU Hawaii. I'm not going to lie. But we're here. But what's awesome about that was, so I'm the bigger kid. All my siblings are super small. Like my mom and dad are pretty small people. All my siblings were small, and then there was me.
And you're about 5'9", is that right?
Yes, but I was a chunky kid. So what I saw as my flaw, like my insecurity, my dad saw as like this opportunity, which I love. Like parents, they don't see any flaws in their kid, right?
So true.
So I thought like this is such an insecurity of mine, like a downfall. Like I'm the fat kid, I'm the fat one of the family, you know? But my dad's like, he didn't see anything like that. He saw opportunity, he saw power, he saw strength. Like so cool, you know? At 8 years old, he saw that. So he told me that, and I was like, whatever. And then I get to 7th grade, and he goes, no, we're still doing this. And so he trains me a little bit, and then my dad goes out and finds like YouTube videos and coaches for me. My dad like went to seek coaches for me. He would drive me 45 minutes because I live in nowhere, in the middle of nowhere. So he'd drive me like 40 minutes to go find this coach. And then she moved to Walla Walla, which is like an hour and a little bit away, and he would drive me there. So my dad would just... He was like my biggest advocate, my biggest supporter. So yeah.
And that was starting in 7th grade is when you started to do kind of the more intense training.
Yes. Yeah, it was insane. Like so my freshman year of high school, I threw like my very first throw was like 80 feet. Okay. My dad's like, oh no, like we got to get you in the weight room. So my dad had me in the weight room with all these football players, which were fun because it was my best friends.
Right.
But yeah, he got me in the weight room as a freshman, and that's where I found the love for the weight room too.
And so did you enjoy it, or was it something like, okay, Dad, I'll do this? Or did you really like it?
I started really liking it. Like I'd wake my dad up. I'd go feed the pigs because that was his job. But I knew if I went and ran outside and I fed the pigs, that we'd get to the gym faster because we had 6:30 in the morning weights.
Yeah.
So I'd knock on his door and be like, hey, the pigs are fed, let's go. And he'd like get out of bed, and he'd drive me 20 minutes to school every day. Like he was awesome.
Wow. Okay, let's rewind just a little bit because you said originally when you were 8, your dad said you're going to be throwing the javelin at BYU.
Yes.
Why BYU specifically?
Obviously I grew up LDS. That was my mom's dream school for me. It was my dad's dream school. He knew a lot of people that went to BYU, and he loved what they became and what they learned. And he knew it was a great environment for me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much why.
Was it something you pictured yourself doing long term when you started? Were you like, I'm going to be doing this for a while?
Yes and no. So my first coach, he was like, Ashton, you should really pursue this. Like, you're going to be a stud. This is my freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
He's like, this should be your dream. You should go to the Olympics. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I am 15 years old. Like, chill. But yeah, now it's like, oh, wow. Like, I'm pretty good.
Well, and really when you're that young, you don't really think ahead like that. You're like, I just want to have fun and do my thing. So were you playing any other sports while you were throwing javelin?
Yeah, so I played soccer and basketball as well.
Wow. Yeah. But javelin was still ahead of those as far as how much you loved the sport?
No.
Really?
No.
What was your favorite?
Soccer. I loved soccer. My best friend was actually on a soccer and basketball team with me, and so it was really fun. But what I loved about track was I could depend on myself. Like, I didn't have to depend on anybody else's work ethic because mine is far beyond anyone else's kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to worry about anybody else getting to the gym at 6 a.m. or working hard at practice. That's what I loved about track.
So your siblings did track as well. What events did they compete in?
Everyone was a runner. Every single one ran and jumped. Yeah, did jumps. My little brother's actually, he's on a mission, and he's coming here to BYU. as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where's he on his mission?
Guatemala.
How awesome.
Yes.
Well, that'll be fun. So you get to high school, you start to throw, and did you find yourself ahead of everybody else by that point? Because I doubt kids that age had been throwing javelin for very long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you did. Were you ahead of everybody?
Yes and no. I was still pretty small and like smaller than everyone. And they had like 3 more years of like big experience of lifting. But by my end of my freshman year, I was very ahead of all the seniors pretty much, except, you know, the top people. But yeah.
Pretty incredible. You hold the record for farthest throw in 1A Washington track and field. When that happened, do you remember what was going through your head?
Oh, yes, actually. Okay, I had to remember this throw. So I was a runner as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And my dad is in charge of the sprints. And then I have another coach, Coach Forsyth. Love him to death. He was my weights coach as well. He's in charge of usually the throws, okay? But my dad is in charge of me for throws because javelin's kind of different. And they got in a little fight. I remember this after the 4x2, which we ran, they got in a fight. And I'm like, you don't yell at my dad. You just don't. Even though I love this other coach, I'm like, you don't yell at my dad.
Yeah.
I was literally shaking. Like I was so mad. That's how much I love my family. Like you just don't mess with them.
You don't mess with your family.
You know? And I was shaking. This was at Royal High School. I was throwing on grass. And I remember my mom was there, but my dad didn't watch this because he was watching my cousin run the 800. He's the running coach, you know?
Yeah.
And I was shaking. I was like, I'm ready to throw. And so they're like, okay, get in there. And I threw, it was like 156.7. And my mom was like, holy crap, your dad's going to be so mad he missed this. But yeah, that's why I PR'd, is because someone made me so mad.
So then from that point on, your dad and Coach Forsyth was his name?
Yeah.
They planned an argument just to get you all riled up before this.
Sometimes my coach here, he's like, what's a way we can make Ashton mad? Like, he'll do that. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Okay, so you said you also ran the 4x2. You took second in state, by the way, in that. You played basketball and soccer in high school. So were any of those other sports on your radar to play in college? Or was it always javelin?
Yes, for soccer.
Okay.
I loved soccer. I'm a bigger, stronger girl.
Yeah.
And so I dominated these other smaller girls on the field. And it was super fun for me. I always told my dad, this is the closest thing I can do to football. And again, I'm my dad's biggest kid.
Well,
so
it is football.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. But, and I loved the team atmosphere. Kind of when you come to track, it's, especially in college, high school's fun. High school you don't take serious, you know?
Right.
So I really loved soccer, but I knew that I'm good at javelin, and that's what I'm going to succeed at. So, yeah.
So were you afraid that as a track athlete from such a small part of Washington that maybe you wouldn't get found or discovered? Or were people looking at you almost your entire time playing?
So there were I got a lot of like recruiting calls. I wasn't very scared for track. Other people, like other sports, yes, it's so hard. But what I love about track is you have a mark or a time, and that's what it is. You have a thing called athletic.net where you have all your marks, and all a coach has to do is look up the top 50 people in the nation, and then they'll see you. And so that's what I love, is like what you throw is what you throw. It doesn't depend on who you know, the politics,
right?
Your coach, your parents, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what's nice about track.
So what was the recruiting process like with BYU specifically? Because they probably knew. Did they know you wanted to go to BYU?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what was that process like?
So I actually had a neighbor that lived about 20 minutes from me, but that's what we call neighbors out there. His name was Kramer Epic, and he was on the team.
Okay.
And he kept telling my coach now, he's like, hey, there's this girl, and she has terrible form, but she throws really far. That's literally what he said. And he goes, look at this video.
Thanks, Kramer.
Yeah, seriously. But no, like... And that's kind of the reason how I got my name out there. And I actually got a lot of calls before I got BYU's call.
Really?
Which was kind of hard. I was like, when are they going to call?
Yeah.
When are they going to call? And then I finally remember when they called. I was at my bishop's house. We were having a mutual activity. And I got a text from Kramer. He's like, hey, my coach is going to call you. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so excited. And then the recruiting trip was awesome. They were so welcoming. they became my best friends. Those girls became my best friends. And I was like, yeah, I have to come here. I didn't take any other recruiting trip.
Wow.
Yeah.
So while you were getting those other calls, while you were waiting for BYU's call, you didn't even like give them the time of day.
I didn't.
It was
I
just more like
should've.
waiting for BYU. You're
Yes.
just like, come on.
Yes, because that was the goal.
Yeah.
Like me and my dad set goals, and then we just make up. Like we just do it, And I was like, nope, that's my goal. And I just kind of sat there stubborn. Like I was super stubborn about it, but I knew what I worked for, And so, yeah.
Or your other siblings like you as far as like making a goal and accomplishing it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. It was, so my oldest brother, Colton, I think he said in kindergarten, he's like, Mom, why'd you name me Colton? That's not a doctor's name. And I was a doctor. Yes.
Really?
Yes. Like, he's a stud. He's, he kind of set the bar for everyone in my family, You're like, great. Like, he's a doctor, now what? But now I have like, so it goes Colton, my oldest brother, and then I have 3 sisters, Chelsea, Maddie, and Cassie. They're the most amazing moms in the world. They know their job, and that's what they do. And then I have 3 younger brothers. They work their butts off. They have goals, and they get them. Like, that's just how it works in my family.
Your parents need to write a parenting book.
No, they really do. They're
Truly
awesome.
do. Okay, once you got to BYU, did you start firing on all cylinders, or did it take a little while to adjust?
It took a long time to adjust for me. Again, we work during the summers. You don't travel anywhere. So I was super homesick. So I had to adjust to that. I had no family in Utah. So that's what's awesome about BYU is they became my family. And so that was awesome. And then I had to kind of adjust to the new workouts. Like I wasn't used to snatching and jerking and cleaning. I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to just doing track.
Yeah.
Like that was, like I told you before this interview, I have ADD and it's like I have to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
Like for the next 5 years. Are you kidding? That was hard.
Yeah.
I wanted to go and play other sports, but I knew if I focused on this one thing, I could excel in it. And that was the goal.
Your dad was your coach all growing up, and then suddenly you have a new coach, and you're away from home. Like you said, you're a little bit homesick. Was that a hard adjustment going from your dad to a new coach?
Yes. So me and my dad have this like crazy good relationship where he'd make me cry at practice, but it made me good. Like I remember if he wasn't yelling at you, he doesn't care. I'm sorry, but he doesn't. And if my dad yells at you, he cares a lot. And So I went from my dad that like pushes me so hard, like past my limits because he knew I didn't have limits. So he'd yell and scream at me, go faster, go harder. And then I came to college and there's more than just my dad or like one-on-one coaching. There's a lot of coaching. Whereas Nick's more of like, he doesn't want to make you cry. You know?
Yeah.
So it's hard. I'm like, Nick, push me harder. He goes, no, you need to slow down. But I don't know slow, you know? So that was hard to go from like a guy that doesn't care to yell at you or like will yell at you to go harder to Nick, like, no, let's bring it back. Like, you're doing enough. I promise you're doing enough, which I probably needed.
Yeah. What's Nick's last name?
Arrhenius.
Arrhenius.
Yes.
Okay. Well, and he's probably like, and I don't want to get in trouble either. So
Yes.
I can't do that. Okay. So you qualify for nationals your freshman year and you end up placing 11th. For you, was that bad news or good news?
That was really good news.
Okay.
That's the point in my life I was like, oh, I should win this. Like, I remember my dad calling me after the first meet, very first meet, USC, and he was like, you already made regionals. That was too easy. He's like, okay, so we're making nationals this year. So I made nationals, and then I placed 11th. And he goes, okay, that was way too easy. Let's go. Like, let's get your butt in gear. It's going to take a bit, but let's win nationals.
Oh, my gosh. And then, unfortunately, your sophomore year in 2019, you tore your UCL and you had to get Tommy John surgery. How did that happen?
So there's wear and tear on your arm. Like, you throw so much. It's a very unnatural position to hit. So I go to University of Arizona, and I'm warming up, and I kind of have this bad feeling. Like, it was super weird. I had this bad feeling. I was like, get it out of your head.
Yeah.
I wasn't mature enough to be like, no, you need to be confident.
Yeah.
And so I went and very first throw of the season, snapped my UCL. And I like look at Nick, look at my trainer, and I'm like, I need you guys now. They're like, okay. And then I went to go throw another one. Oh. And then my trainer Dustin was like, shut it down. I'm like, okay. And then we got an MRI and it was torn. Had to get surgery. 2 days after my surgery, I was like, so can I work out? And I was like in the weight room and everyone's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm going to do legs. Like, what do you mean? So
Did they let you do that?
no, because you're not allowed to sweat in the cast, I guess. I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh.
So the second that cast came off, I went right back to work. But
That's incredible. So there wasn't one moment where you're like, oh my gosh, is my throwing career over? You were just like, oh, well, let's get back to work.
yeah, I cried a little bit. I remember calling my mom in bed. And I was like, why me? I work my butt off. Like, I do all the right things. Why me? And my mom had a really good talk. And after that, I had a great surgeon, and he goes, no, there's people that come back all the time. There's a lot of people that have Tommy John surgery, and you just do your research. And that's what I did. And I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Like, I'll get right back up there.
Wow. So the recovery is about, well, for baseball pitchers, it's like 6 to 7 months to return to the mound again. What was the recovery like for you?
Yeah, it's a lot longer actually because of the torque of the javelin on your elbow. So I was able to start throwing like a baseball, I think 5 to 6 months after, but like lightly. And then full throws, it was almost 9 months. No, like with a javelin, I could start like picking with a javelin, which is like a really short throw. But yeah, it was crazy. Luckily for me, which I wish I would have known COVID was going to happen because I pushed my elbow to get back fast.
Yeah.
And a week before our first meet, shut down. Like everything shut down. So I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh, you're like, I could have taken my time.
I know.
So when was it that you felt like yourself again after that surgery?
Oh gosh. I would say the next year. Like honestly, because there's like tugging and stuff, and then you have to get used to, you have to trust your body to hit your block again and like feel the shock of a block again. So it took me a while actually.
All right, we're going to take a little break. After we come back, we're going to hear more from national champion javelin thrower Ashton Riner-Lunt. Welcome back. We're here with national champion javelin thrower Ashton Riner-Lunt. Okay, so what happened during your 2020 and 2021 seasons when you're trying to get back to full health?
This is my junior year, correct, when I threw 57 meters?
Yeah.
So we opened up really early, which never happens and I'll never do again. But it was a fun like icebreaker meet that we wanted to do before a really big track meet, which is called Texas Relays.
Okay.
I threw 57 meters, which is insane, broke the school record. I was ranked like, I think 5th in the nation at that time. Then I got pretty sick. Like, I'm not going to lie. It was hard. It was going back from, I tore my UCL. Then we had COVID. I was like, okay, like this is my year. Like I'm going to place high.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to win yet, honestly. I was like, I had a chance, but I knew I was going to place high. And so I was there, and then I got pretty sick, and I actually lost 30 pounds.
Oh my
I
gosh.
learned that mental health is a lot. I remember my stomach was messed up. Couldn't eat anything. Couldn't hold anything down. And this year I got married, too. It was kind of... It was hard. It was a good year and a bad year. I got pretty sick again, lost 30 pounds, and then I got to competition, and I throw off of like adrenaline and like I like feeling. It was awesome. I remember getting to that like to regionals. I think it was in not Arkansas, Texas A&M, and I remember stepping on that track, and I was like, I felt nothing. Like I felt nothing. It was insane. I'm like this person that has so much emotion, you know?
Yeah.
And felt nothing. I was like yelling at myself in my head. I was like, Ashton, get it together. Like feel something. I remember stepping on that runway. I usually shake and like just like anything. Nothing. Like literally nothing. I threw one of my worst throws. Like I threw further in my freshman year of college.
Wow.
It was, I think I threw further in high school. So that was pretty devastating. I didn't even make it to nationals that year.
Well, I'm glad you got it turned around.
Yes.
That can be scary, and it's completely a real and true thing. And I can't even imagine with athletes, because the type of pressure that you guys have on you has to contribute so much to your mental health. And man, thank heaven for Craig Manning too, right?
Seriously. Oh yeah. He's the one that flipped me around.
Wow, really?
Yes.
So you mentioned that you get married to tight end Lane Lunt. So how did you guys meet?
Oh, I love this story. So he actually went on a mission to Tri-Cities, Washington.
Oh,
But we
okay.
didn't meet there. I saw him actually in the temple. Like there's like this door where you do baptisms, or there's like a window you can look in and see them. And I saw him and I was like, oh, that's a cute missionary. Fast forward 3 years later, I see him doing his, like they're getting ready for physicals for football players in January that come in. And I was in the training room. I was like, oh, he's cute, but I know him. Like, I know him.
Yeah.
I asked one of my football buddies. I friend him on Instagram. He DM'd me. But I lured him in. I was like, watch this. I'm going to get him. So he followed me back. And then I told one of my teammates, I was like, watch this. I'm going to get him to talk to me. So you don't know where Eltopia, Washington is unless you've been there. And I knew he's been there. That's my part of the mission.
Yeah.
And so I type, oh, man, I already miss home because it was right after Christmas. And I tag Eltopia, Washington, knowing he'd slide up. And he did. And it's history from there.
Oh, my gosh. Way to go. I love that so much. Was it easy to plan a wedding since your sports are opposite of each other? What was that like?
Yeah, it was really hard. Like, our engagement was very long because you couldn't find time. My wedding was between nationals and the Olympic trials.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, but my sister and my mom planned the whole wedding. Like, they're amazing. I was like, my colors are black and white.
Yeah.
Do what you will with that. Like, I don't know.
Were you guys like lifting weights together on your honeymoon? Like, we gotta keep training, man.
Yes. Oh, me and him, our dates, and maybe people would be like, why would you ever do that? But our dates are to the gym. Like, I love
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Is that like your favorite activity to do together?
Yes.
Just go lift?
Go to the gym.
I love it so much. Okay, back to track and field. So when did you know it was going to be a special season?
Right after regionals. That regionals that I just choked, I was like, nope, this is not my story. This is not how I'm gonna write my story. So me and my husband kind of put together a plan. He got me on creatine. He like tracked. He was like, you should probably track your calories. And I was like, no, I just eat when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, just one day. And I'm like, okay. I came out and like maybe 700 calories after, like, literally. And I was like, oh, frick, I'm doing bad.
You're like, I gotta eat some more.
So we're like, okay. So I got in the kitchen. And then I started grinding super hard at the gym, and I got strong. Like, I got super strong. I get back, my coach was like, dang, like, what did you do this summer? And he saw my weights going up. My technique started getting better. My mentality was insane. I started listening to Craig Manning videos, and that's when I was like, I could win. Like, I'm going to win this.
You set a new BYU record of 60.36 meters in a meet in Provo,
Yes.
right? That's 198 feet. For those of you who don't know meters, oh my gosh. It was the farthest anyone had thrown all season in the NCAA. What did you think once you found out how far you had thrown it?
I found a new vertical because I jumped so high. That was insane. You think your whole life as a javelin thrower, especially like if you want to go pro, I'm going to hit that 60-meter mark. Like, that 60-meter barrier is insane. Like, that kind of separates you from people. Like, I did not want to throw 59.99. I wanted to hit that number. And that was, again, another goal of me and my dad that we've set. I remember pushing sleds, and he goes, 60 meters, baby, as I'm, like, pushing these sleds.
Oh, my gosh.
So, like, finally hitting that number. I remember driving home after that. My husband drove separately, so I had my car, and I was just driving home, and I just started bawling because it was like, that's like a huge number for me to hit. Mm-hmm. So that number meant a lot for me, and I was like, I'm gonna win. That's when I was like, I'm gonna win.
So when you hit that number, was it more excitement or like, holy cow, now this opens a whole new, different journey for me,
Yes. No, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, crap. I'm like, oh, crap.
This is good and bad.
Yes, definitely.
So you ended up ranked number 1 in the NCAA. Did you feel like there was a target on your back going into the NCAA championships?
Yes, because me and another girl threw 60 meters, but again, mine was further. Hers was 60.03 and mine was 60.36. And so there's a huge target on my back, but again, everyone was like, no, you're the best. Your average, my average was so much higher than everyone else, you know? And so everyone kept saying, Ashton, do not think about them. Everyone was like, no, you're going to win. Don't even have those girls in your mind. So the whole training week of those 2 weeks from regionals to nationals, no one else was in my mind. Nothing else in my mind was in my mind except my cues. That's all I did. And it worked.
You ended up throwing your farthest mark on your first throw, 58.24 meters. After that throw, were you feeling pretty confident that the title was yours?
No. I was
Really?
like, oh, crap. Because at practice, we were like, no, a 60 meter, like a high 59, 60 is probably going to win. But I threw that and I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Like, that's a very good mark.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really good mark. So, yes and no. coming into the finals, I thought I was going to have a bigger throw. I really did, because I was hitting my cues. Everything was going perfectly. Accidentally grabbed my javelin that bottoms out at 55. And so when I slung that thing, it dropped at 55, and I was like, crap, that was like a beautiful throw. But then the last two girls threw right before me, and that girl, the girl that was in third, she didn't beat me. The girl that was in second, she didn't throw, and then it didn't hit me. I had no idea that I won. I had no idea. My family starts screaming, and I was like, oh. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh, crap, I did win. And then I still had one more throw, but that's when it hit me.
Oh, my gosh. What were you feeling in that moment where you realized you were a national champion?
Everyone asked me that question, and I say, the weight that was lifted off my shoulders, let me tell you. My coach that was his first national championship.
Aww.
He won one, but he's like, as a coach,
yeah.
It's a beautiful moment. My dad, he's put so much time and effort. My mom, the stress I put on her shoulders, coming back from not even making nationals that year before, and then winning was insane. The fact that I could spend it with my whole family, that moment with my family was awesome. So, yeah, it was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders.
You mentioned that you heard them cheering and screaming. What was their reaction when you finally got to talk to them and see them after winning?
So I hugged my coach first, because I knew my dad was going to shake the crap out of me when I got to him. So it was my coach and then my dad. And my dad was just, the smile on his face was insane. Seeing my mom and hugging my mom was the best feeling in the world. It kind of makes me emotional right now, because she gives the world to us kids. And so it was it was their anniversary too.
Aww.
So I was like, happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. Oh man, my mom, hugging my mom was the best moment. And then it was my husband. He kind of knew, but he was there for 2 years of the journey, whereas my mom and my dad were there for years of the journey. They were amazing.
You are the first woman since 1992 to win a field title for BYU, and the first male or female athlete since 2007 to win an individual title. Absolutely incredible. Your coach was the 2007 national champion. How does it feel to have him as a coach and now to be able to share that national championship title with him?
It's super fun, because we have a guy on the team. His name's Cam Bates, and he loves to talk trash, and sometimes he won't go too far, but it's fun. And me and Nick will always point to our ring fingers natty champs. And me and Nick are always, and it's awesome to also talk to Nick and say, did you feel this? It wasn't this glorious moment. It was almost oh my gosh, thank goodness. Relief. And he goes, yes. And so I could relate to him, and he could relate to me. And it's an awesome bond that we have with that.
Oh, because you guys work so hard. So a little over 2 weeks after winning the NCAA title, you compete in the USA Track and Field Outdoor Championships at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. It's the same place you won the NCAA crown. What were your hopes going into that meet?
I was personally hoping to break my own record, but I slipped on my first throw. It was the track was kind of falling apart, and when you slip, you can't hit your block, and then it goes straight up in the air.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to do a little bit better. But how am I supposed to do better when there was 5 Olympians in front of me? I placed 4th, which was awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah, but I wanted to do better, but it's okay. My body was kind of done after that. It was shot. I'll just say that. My body, it was so weird, because the day after, my body shut down. I went to throw next that Tuesday after, because, you had to train for the trials. And my body, completely shut down. It couldn't throw. It just didn't want to do anything.
I just can't even imagine the wear and tear you guys put on your bodies to compete. Kara Winger wins it in that meet with her throw of 64.26. That's an amazing distance.
Yes.
When you see those types of throws come from Olympians, what are you thinking?
Sometimes I think, I can do that. I think I can do that this year, hopefully.
Yeah.
But that also, I also think, man, she's getting older, and I don't want to go for that long.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the
Yeah.
things I think in my head. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go that long. But it's also holy crap, these are the people I looked up to all these years. They're the videos I looked to on YouTube. And now I'm competing with them. That was insane. That was a surreal moment for me.
And you take 4th.
I know.
That's amazing. So what are your goals for this final season?
Obviously hoping to defend my title. I would like to make the U.S. team. I really want to get the NCAA record, which is everyone's like, so what do you want to throw this year? And I'm like, 62.20. And they're like, 62.20, that's super specific. And I said, yeah, because the NCAA record is 62.19.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. You mentioned you don't want to do this forever.
Yeah.
You're married. You have a bachelor's degree in communication disorders. What are your plans after your track career is done? Do you have any?
I want to be a mom.
I love it.
I just want to be a mom. My first coach ever, he was like, Ashton, you need, like, your goal should be the Olympics. Like, you have a talent for this. And I was, again, 15 years old, and I look at him dead in the eye, and I go, no, my overall goal is to be a mom. He was like, you're literally 15 years old.
Well, you mentioned in an article that your goal is to be the best mom you can be. And obviously, you learned that from your own mom. How has your mom been an influence on you throughout your career?
Oh, she is the most selfless, most caring person in the world. If I can be half the mom she was, I'd be good. My dad was obviously a coach, and so he taught, he'd teach and then go coach, and then he had football games and basketball games and track meets. And my mom would have 8 kids, and she would try not to miss one single thing. She has instilled in every single one of my sisters. My sisters are the most amazing moms in the world too. They do anything for their kids, and I would do anything for their kids. And everyone at home knows my mom, and she's just like this bright light. She'll drop anything for her kids. I remember I call my mom like twice a day. Like, that's how close me and my mom are. There's like not even words to describe my mom, how selfless she is. And we always tease my dad. I'm like, you don't deserve her. She's just so amazing.
And he's probably like, I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He says, I know all the time.
I love it so much. I'm here with national champion BYU javelin thrower Ashton Riner-Lunt. You are just an incredible human being, like an amazing athlete, so inspiring that way. But I can just tell you just shine, like you said about your mom. You're just amazing, and I can't wait to see what you do. Thank you so much for coming on with me.
Thank you for having me.
You can download and listen to all episodes of Her Why on the BYU Radio app or wherever you find podcasts. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.